Welcome to the Gay Catholic Hour, a program of news, entertainment, healing, and affirmation brought to you by Dignity New York, an organization serving marginalized Catholics since 1972.
The women and men of Dignity want you to feel right at home, no matter what your sexual orientation, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, or straight.
We are all God's children.
Hi, welcome to the Gay Catholic Hour. I'm Chris Cappiello, and I'll be your host for tonight's episode, a special Convention 99 edition of the Gay Catholic Hour, focusing on the Dignity USA Convention held in Denver the first week of August. As many of you may know, Dignity is a national organization with chapters in most cities across the country. And every couple of years, we all get together for a national convention and a convening of the House of Delegates, which is basically the governing body for Dignity USA. And this year, we had a great time in Denver. I was privileged to be one of Dignity New York's 3 representatives there, and it was a fabulous time. We had fantastic speakers. Bishop Thomas Gumbleton was there, David Mixner, the gay activist and political organizer, as well as Marianne Duddy, former president of Dignity USA. It was a fantastic week. We've got lots of great footage for you. In fact, you've already seen some of it. You saw the opening ceremony's parade of banners, where all the different chapters from across the country were represented in a beautiful array and parade. Also in those opening ceremonies, very exciting, our executive director, Charles Cox, read a letter of welcome and congratulations from President Bill Clinton. And also, the mayor of Denver, Wellington Webb, came out to greet us. Let's take a look at some of that.
First, I'd like to introduce Charles Cox, Dignity USA's Executive Director, with a very special greeting that he would like to share. Charles?
Thank you very much. I bring you warm greetings from Washington, D.C. Warm greetings to all those gathered in Denver for the Dignity USA Conference and 30th anniversary celebration. Since the founding of your organization 3 decades ago, you have recognized that our nation's diversity is our greatest strength, and the lives of countless gay men and lesbians have benefited from your leadership and vision. But while Americans have come a long way in our journey toward tolerance and understanding, we still have a long way to go in our efforts to end discrimination. During the past year, Americans have been shaken by violent acts that struck at the heart of what it means to be American, and at the values that define us as a nation. Now is the time for us to take strong and decisive action to fight hate crimes, and I have pledged to work with Congress to pass the Hate Crimes Prevention Act. It is also more important than ever that we strive to teach our young people to have tolerance and respect for one another, and to understand that the more we appreciate one another's diversity, the more we reaffirm the fundamental values that we have in common. I thank each of you for your leadership in this endeavor, and I applaud you for your continuing commitment. Best wishes to all for a productive conference and a memorable anniversary celebration. Bill Clinton, President of the United States.
I think it is important that you're here. I think it's important that there are those that are willing to stand up and fight for equal rights and justice. It's also frightening to me as I listen to Representative Labor's words, because it didn't seem like so long ago when I was castigated for introducing the first legislation in the state of Colorado to prohibit discrimination based upon sexual orientation. In 1974, before a few of you were even born. Gloria's taken up that mantle, and it's taken, as she said, a quarter of a century to get it out of committee and to fall one vote short of getting it out of the House of Representatives. Now, what that says to me is that we have to continue to build. We have to continue to build people that are willing to fight for what's right. And these issues are not that difficult to decide on. You either believe in equal justice or you don't. It's not a program. So for me, when Amendment 2 passed in Colorado, 67% of the people in Denver voted against it. The city said we would not enact it until we had exhausted the court process. And the first 4 employees' names that were on the suit opposing the amendment were all city employees, 3 of whom worked for me. And when we had the city attorneys go into court to say that we believed it violated our rights and the rights of individual citizens in this city, because it's not too long ago that I also remember this country fighting a war back in the 1860s when we wanted to subjugate one race of people. And we fought a war, we passed the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery and the 14th Amendment granting citizenship to all people regardless of where they were born, and the 15th Amendment granting the right to vote in this nation. And we based it upon the principle that all people born in this nation have inalienable rights that were guaranteed by the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, that their liberties would be protected, whether it be their religious beliefs or whether it be equal justice under the law. And we can never allow anyone to take away our rights as human beings on this planet, regardless of what country we're in.
One of the highlights of our week in Denver was a speech by Bishop Thomas Gumbleton. Bishop Gumbleton is an auxiliary bishop from Detroit, and about 10 years ago, his brother Dan came out to his family, and that transformed Bishop Gumbleton's life. He has since become a spokesperson for gay and lesbian Catholics among the American Catholic bishops, and was instrumental in the writing of the letter Always Our Children, the American bishop's letter to parents of gays and lesbians, encouraging them to love their children. Bishop Gumbleton is also the founding president of Pax Christi, a progressive Catholic organization that works for world peace. It was great to have him there with us, and here's some clips from his speech.
I say with great sincerity, it is an honor for me to be among you, and I thank you for welcoming me here. As I try to address and provide for you a pastoral message from Always Our Children, As you might suspect, over the past few weeks, I have been a bit anxious, I guess, about speaking here. And after all, bishops have not always been so kind to dignity and to all of you. But also I am anxious a bit about my role as a bishop and trying to be very faithful to who I am as a bishop and what I represent. I hope that I can stretch out my hand to you, that you will stretch out your hand to me, and to me not just as an individual, but to our church, and that our whole church will be stretching out its hand to you more and more in a very concrete and real way. I hope that what I say here today might help to bring us closer together toward the beginning of a genuine reconciliation between Dignity as an organization and each of you as an individual with the church, which we all love so much. So the first thing that I must do this afternoon as I try to stretch out my hands to you is to ask your forgiveness. To ask your forgiveness because of the ways that I and others in the church have hurt you in the past. For our failures as bishops, our failures as teachers in the church, the failures that brought great pain and hurt to so many of you. And it's not only an institutional failure, it's a failure of individuals like myself. And so I stand before you as one within our church who truly asks very sincerely for the failures. And I could go into more detail even back when I was first appraised in the failures that I know I was. At times I was a failure of hearing confessions, trying to minister to gay and lesbian people. I truly ask your forgiveness, and insofar as I could speak in any way for other bishops and for the church, I ask for forgiveness. I ask for the forgiveness of the church. Also ask you, somehow in your heart, to reach out to us, to be loving and forgiving to us. But as we go on to try to build up this spirit of reconciliation, we must do what is, and this is going to be a difficult task, what is outlined in page 9 and page 10 of this document. The bishops say so clearly, but here is where we need concrete action also. Respect for the God-given dignity of all persons means the recognition of human rights and responsibilities. The teachings of the church make it clear that the fundamental human rights of homosexual persons must be defended, and that all of us must strive to eliminate any forms of injustice, oppression, or violence against homosexual persons. Nothing in the Bible or Catholic teaching can be used to justify prejudicial or discriminatory attitudes and behaviors. That is a beautiful statement, and I'm sure you all affirm that very powerfully and strongly and clearly. What will we still find lacking, I think? The church, especially through its bishops, and I challenge our bishops on this. When those ordinances are being proposed in cities or state legislatures, we must have bishops who will speak out in support of ordinances that will guarantee the rights of homosexual, bisexual, transgender people. trying to build on this spirit of reconciliation as outlined in Always Our Children. I turn to page 9 once more. It is not sufficient only to avoid unjust discrimination. Homosexual persons, and I quote here from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, must be accepted with respect, compassion, and sensitivity. They, as is true of every human being, need to be nourished at many different levels simultaneously. This includes friendship, which is a way of loving and is essential to healthy human development. It is one of the richest possible human experiences. More than 20 years ago, we bishops stated, and we quote here, from the 1976 Pastoral Reflection, or To Live in Christ Jesus, our pastoral letter of 1976. More than 20 years ago, we bishops stated, quote, homosexuals should have an active role in the Christian community. What does this mean in practice? It means that all homosexual persons have a right to be welcomed into the community, to hear the Word of God, to receive pastoral care. Homosexual persons should have opportunities to lead and serve the community. They should be Eucharistic ministers. They should be lectors in the liturgy on a Sunday in any parish church, in every parish church in this country. And yet I know of many where they would not be welcome. If our bishops really mean what we say, we must make that happen in every parish community in this country. And of course, one of the reasons why that would be so important is because of what you, every one of you, and everyone of the homosexual community, what you can bring to our church. Your spirituality, your depth of faith, your commitment, your integrity, love, all your goodness. Some time ago I read an article in Commonweal magazine about the spirituality of homosexual persons. Finally, homosexuals can develop a form of authentic Christian spirituality. Their spirituality, of course, is basically like that of heterosexuals. They believe and enact in their lives the incarnation, the cross, and the resurrection. They live, or try to live, as all of us do, consciously dependent on the power of God's Spirit. But just as grace, mind, and sight penetrate their sexual orientation, so also this orientation affects their psyche, their mind, and their spirit. Whatever is distinctive about their human existence due to their homosexual orientation offers a new possibility for life in the spirit, a possibility that heterosexuals do not have. A number of articles and books have been written to explore this possibility. The harvest of the Spirit, Paul tells us. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, fidelity, gentleness, and self-control. Some homosexuals exhibit these qualities strikingly, and even more strikingly than any heterosexual. To be sure, we human beings are so complex that we can manifest all these virtues and still be sinful in some aspect of our lives. But abundant evidence of these virtues in many active homosexuals leads one to presume that they are Spirit-filled. And I have found that in you. And I thank you for that Spirit-filled life that you bring to our church.
Following Bishop Gumbleton's speech, he did a small question and answer session in a conference room at the hotel that we were meeting in. And one of the participants there asked him about his mother's recent marriage at the age of 75 to an 80-year-old man in what was obviously not a procreative relationship, and yet they were married in a Catholic church with the church's blessing. He asked the bishop if he ever foresaw a day where he and his partner could have a similar ceremony in a Catholic church. At first, the bishop sort of dodged the question and claimed sort of theological ignorance about such things. And then the participant came back and said, "Would you like to see it happen?" And the bishop thought for a minute and said, "Yes." Now, unfortunately, my tape ran out just before that, so we don't have it on videotape. But there was a reporter there from the Denver Rocky Mountain News, and she got it all down. And of course, the banner headline the next day, Catholic Bishop Backs Homosexual Marriage. Well, not everyone was happy that Dignity was in Denver this August. We had demonstrators outside the hotel just about every day, and one night a group of us were going out to dinner, and some of the people among us said, let's go talk to them. And I have to tell you personally, I had no interest in talking to these people. They hated me as far as I was concerned, and I didn't want to go anywhere near them. But off we went, and one of the most memorable things for me is after getting into discussion with these people, realizing that they really didn't even know why they were there. They knew they hated us, they knew we were evil, but they couldn't really explain why. And in the end, wouldn't shake hands with us to agree respectfully to disagree. It was really a sort of a sad and memorable moment for me with another human being who would refuse to shake my hand, didn't want to be anywhere near me. Anyway, on a little more official note, the Archbishop of Denver, Charles Chaput, issued a letter to all his priests and all his parishioners a couple weeks before Dignity got to Denver, warning them to stay away from Dignity. We were terrible people. We'd confused them theologically. So naturally, no one would have known that 300 gay Catholics were in Denver if he hadn't done this. But since he did, everybody knew we were there. We were front page news every day, and we had the demonstrators outside and the whole shebang. Partly in response to this inhospitable welcome from the Archbishop, Brendan Fay, one of the delegates from Dignity New York, did what Brendan Fay does best. He organized a protest. And Saturday morning at 7 a.m., almost pre-dawn, Brendan organized a march, a vigil to the cathedral in Denver. And I have to tell you, 150 people showed up. That was half of the convention, climbed out of bed before 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Just try to get gay people out of bed at that hour for anything else. It was amazing, very moving. We marched a mile from the hotel to the cathedral, singing most of the way. And when we got to the cathedral, everyone just filed by silently, leaving Solidarity Sunday ribbons, candles, prayer cards, whatever they wanted to do as they went by. And we left in front of the very definitely closed doors of the cathedral this sort of trail of our prayerful witness. It was one of the most moving parts of the convention for me.
We are dancing, we are dancing, we are dancing in the light of God. 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 We are dancing, we are dancing, we are dancing in the light of God. We are dancing, we are dancing, we are dancing in the light of God.
In this show, we've focused mostly on the events of the National Convention in Denver. But the 2 days before the convention was a meeting of the House of Delegates, representatives from all the chapters across the country. But so much went on there, and so many important issues were discussed and decisions made that we're going to spend next month's show talking about that. And hopefully we'll pull in a panel of other people who were involved there and get a little more in-depth discussion going of some of those issues. One thing that we shouldn't leave this show without mentioning is that while we were in Denver in the House of Delegates, the Outreach Committee proposed a resolution opposing capital punishment. Now, this came up in the context of a trial of one of the accused killers of Billy Jack Gaither in Alabama, who was on trial that week and possibly facing the death penalty if he was convicted. So it was in that context that the HOD took a stand against capital punishment and saying the taking of another life would solve nothing. And I have to say, we were expecting to get a pretty good debate going on this issue, and there was actually no debate. There were a few abstentions, but otherwise it passed almost unanimously. So that was big news, and we'll have more on that next month. Now, on the hate crimes front on the local level, we must say that Dignity New York has been all over the news. Cardinal O'Connor, did you ever think you'd see the day, was on the front page of the New York Blade in August. Let's get a shot of that. There he is as the unlikely ally for hate crimes legislation. It's a fabulous picture of him, too, I might add. But it's a great article talking about how the Cardinal has emerged as an unlikely ally in favor of hate crimes legislation in New York State. And the article quotes several members of Dignity New York, our steering committee member Ed DeBonis and Jeff Stone, a former national board member from Dignity New York. So it's really a great chance to see the effect that Dignity has on the local level in a very important way. Well, that's it for this episode, part one of our coverage of the Denver Convention 1999. If you've never been with us at Dignity, come visit us. We have 2 liturgies every week. Saturday night at 8 p.m. at the Lesbian and Gay Community Services Center on Little West 12th Street, and Sunday at 7:30 at St. John's in the Village on the corner of Waverly and West 11th Street, just west of 7th Avenue. For more information about us, call the number on the screen. So, call us and watch us next month, same time, same station. And until then, be proud you're Catholic and be proud you're gay. So long.